country, and that silencing people doesn't help.
That only aggravates and amplifies the problem.
But fellow Democrats criticized him while accusing Republicans of trying to elevate one of President Biden's 2024 challengers and bigoted information.
Many lawmakers pointed to Kennedy's recent reference to papers out there claiming that COVID was ethnically targeted to attack Caucasians and black people, sparing the Chinese and Jews, and also his implication that Nazi Germany had more freedoms than the unvaccinated during the pandemic. But lawmakers also attacked Republicans, saying that Kennedy should never have been called up for a censorship hearing on the weaponization of government subcommittee because the government didn't censor him.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. A bill that could ease turbulent times for air travelers easily passes the U.S. House, winning broad bipartisan support. It's a 5-year reauthorization proposal for FAA programs.
Lawmakers use the bill to correct staffing deficiencies in the airline industry. They also want to reduce the high number of cancellations and technical glitches. One provision in the bill would raise the retirement age of pilots. That would keep more pilots on the job. The bill would also recruit and train additional air traffic controllers.
Fox's Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. The Senate's working on its own version, though, and having some trouble on the fine print. A long delay on a hot plane being investigated by the U.S. Transportation Department. Secretary Pete Buttigieg telling Reuters reports of Delta passengers kept in triple-digit heat for several hours on the tarmac in Las Vegas are infuriating. Delta has said it is reviewing the incident. A rally and a sell-off for stocks. The Dow up 163 at the bell, but the NASDAQ down 2%. America is listening to Fox News.
That's Mike saying good morning. It's the best he can do right now. Yeah, not a cloud in the sky. What Mike could use is a fresh start. And Irish Spring Body Wash. The fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset Mike needs. Now he's ready
to go to work.
It's Sunday. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at Walmart today.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
President Biden taking success stories back on the road, though it remains a tough sell.
Union workers at the Philly shipyard in Philadelphia are building a vessel designed to place heavy rocks at the base of offshore wind projects, combining, President Biden says, manufacturing jobs with clean energy investments.
Be the first vessel of its kind that's made in America, American-owned, American-operated.
The visit to the shipyard is the latest on an Investing in America tour by the president and cabinet officials.
Bidenomics is just another way of saying restore the American dream.
But polling shows more Americans disapprove of the president's handling of the economy than approve. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The Pfizer CEO confirming no serious injuries after a plant in North Carolina was among the structures ripped apart by a tornado yesterday. The company working urgently to get back online. That facility makes sterile injectable products used by hospitals around the world. There's a new deal to avoid a strike on Broadway.
An agreement seems to have been reached between the Broadway League and Disney Theatrical Productions and the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. That means that a threatened strike by the union's 1,500 stagehands, hair and makeup artists, and wardrobe personnel seems to have been averted. The agreement still needs to be ratified and is not connected to the Hollywood strike by the Writers Guild and actors represented by SAG-AFTRA. A Broadway strike would have affected 28 of the 30 current Broadway productions and 17 touring shows.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Union members still need to vote on the deal. Low inventory and rising mortgage rates keeping home buyers on the sidelines. Sales of existing homes falling more than 3% last month to the slowest pace since January, down nearly 19% since last June. Recapping a mixed day for stocks, the Dow up 163, the NASDAQ tumbling. And Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for eastern Illinois, Champaign-Urbana vicinity, and a little more typical summertime feel with humidity levels up and having risen throughout the night. And along with a frontal boundary to the north and west may trigger a couple of showers, thunderstorms developing as the day wears on today. Apart from that, partly sunny skies, touch of fog in the air in some spots. And again, a more humid high of about 88. But humidity values come on down tonight with a partly cloudy sky, turning less humid down to 63. Comfortable weather ahead for the day tomorrow and Saturday, too. Partly sunny, cooler tomorrow, the high either side of 80 with a north wind. We'll bottom out at 58 comfortable degrees for tomorrow night. Saturday outlook mostly sunny, 82. Here comes an approaching warm front and that hot and heat related ridge to the west and southwest, but we won't get into it firmly in skies, just its the eastern flank. So a couple of thunderstorms possible here on Sunday with a high up to 84, 87, more humidity in the air on Monday. Each day a couple of thunderstorms for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, highs right around 90. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Soldier.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Check. I literally just create madness.
Boiler up.
I'm going to go off here.
They don't have a great quarterback.
I got to take a break. I'm getting in trouble.
To win the Big Ten, you first got to win the West.
Bad Bunny. Have you heard his name in a while?
No.
Has it bothered you?
No. Defensively, they got to come in with some confidence.
Is that even analytics?
I'm in a parking garage, kind of lost.
Terrence Shannon, Matthew Meyer, R.J. Melendez, Coleman Hawkins.
These trophy presentations aren't over!
I didn't come here to go 5-7.
I'm so proud of Illinois football right now. I'm so tired of Joel Embiid.
We're not taking Patrick Corbin.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
You are Reba McEntire's niece.
Roshan Russell.
Coach Bielma.
You no longer here. Salute to yourself.
What? We got all kinds of things for you here.
There's a lot of glass.
Oh.
Guys, we have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
It's The Drive.
Schmack Dogs.
Thunderstruck! Yeah, Thunderstruck!
Hey, what's up? It's The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. We are back after being off yesterday. Day baseball in St. Louis kept us off the airwaves. The Cardinals were able to get a win. They've won 5 straight. Look out, Kyle.
8 of 10.
We are going to talk some
devil
baseball.
magic is back.
Is it?
The Cardinals aren't dead. I mean, to say I didn't see this eventually coming would be a lie. I did.
Derek Piper, Kyle Toss with you today. Lante is out. We are off tomorrow, so this is our final day of the show. Cubs Cardinals have day baseball at Wrigley tomorrow, so this is our last show of the week, and you will not hear me next week. I'm headed to Florida for a little vacation. No better time to go down south in Florida, where like the heat index is probably 110.
Oh,
but,
is it?
It's pretty hot.
Is it going to be that next week too? Have you looked ahead?
It's going to be pretty hot.
Oh boy!
But we buy the water and a pool at the place too if you want to keep close to somewhere cool. But it'd be nice to get away for a little bit. I'm excited about that. But we got a big show for you coming up. Not in terms of guests. We just got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk plenty of football. There's a big storyline that we weren't able to get to before we were off on Tuesday, which is the running back market in the NFL, the contract disputes between Saquon Barkley and the Giants, Josh Jacobs and the Raiders, and just the growing narrative. There's been a lot of running backs that have weighed in just on the status of the running back value in the NFL, the contract setup where the rookie deal is of 4 years in length. You can then get franchise tagged, and a lot of these guys are playing their prime on rookie deals, and then teams are pretty much saying, we don't want to commit big money to the running back position. It's become more of a discount position in the NFL. So we'll dive into that as we go along. We also have an NFL next question. Justin Fields has come out and said that he feels like he's a top 5 running back quarterback or running back quarterback. He kind of was a running back over a quarterback last year, but running quarterback of all time, which stirred up Colin Cowherd, which will play some of that, which then stirred up me listening to it. So I've got some thoughts on that as well, along with some free agent running backs yet to sign, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott among those. And we'll talk about a couple of different NFL topics because it's getting towards that time. We're approaching training camp and we're gearing up for football mode, which I'm definitely excited about. One thing in addition that we will touch on is Ayo Dosunmu. Former Illini continues to be unsigned. There was a report, Dan Bernstein has put it out there that he's heard that Ayo will not be back with the Bulls. Is that a report we're buying into? What would the options look like if Ayo were to go somewhere else? I think that's something that Kyle and I can navigate and try to figure out and maybe just kind of on the best fit scenarios, where would we like to see Ayo Dosunmu play basketball next season, because it is a really crucial year for him and trying to get the arrow pointing back up on his stock and trying to position himself for a long career in the NBA. So a lot to hit on as we go along. We're going to start with the Cardinals and Cubs series, two teams that are seeing if they can stay in this thing. I mean, it's a wonky division. The Reds have picked it up here a little bit in the last few games, but they hit a lull and they've only won 3 of their last 10. You have Milwaukee, who
they're kind of rolling,
is trending up, and I know Corbin Burns was awesome today. And
their bullpen, by the way, have you seen some of the numbers on that post break? I think they've given up like 2 runs as a bullpen since the All-Star break, and they've got like 4 guys that are on streaks of sub-1 ERAs or something. I saw some tweet about it, but they're, as usual, it's nothing new. When you had Devin Williams and Josh Hader at the back end, now they got Devin Williams and this guy they got this offseason basically for free, Joel Payamps, I think is how you say it. He's got like a 1.7 ERA. And you got the starting rotation with Corbin Burns in it, and they don't even have Brandon Woodruff healthy. I'd be lying if I said the Brewers aren't starting to scare me a little bit. But then at the same time, you look at that lineup, and it's awful.
They're not going to outslug you. And you look throughout the division, they're just above the Pirates in terms of runs scored. They have a negative run differential. Everybody in the division outside of your Cubbies does. The Brewers -3 on the differential. The Reds -12. The Cardinals -21. The Pirates, who have been just flat out atrocious, -72. But Kyle, your Chicago Cubs, I know they're still 5 games under 500, 8 games out in the division, but +38 on the run differential. Their lineup has started to get hot here of late, put up some big numbers against the Nationals.
If you ever want an argument of why run differential really it isn't all that important, it's the Cubs being +38 right now. There's no better example.
Let's dive into this as we go into this series. As you pointed out when we were discussing the show plan for today, the Cardinals and Cubs will have a series, a 4-game set here in Chicago, and then the Cardinals and Cubs will both play a series early next week before meeting up in St. Louis for another series. So we're going to see a lot of each other coming up over the next week. Are you buying into the notion that one of these teams, I mean, it could totally play out where they pretty much split and nobody gains any ground, and the Cardinals right now 10.5 out, the Cubs 8 out, and they're pretty much in the same spot as we essentially then get to the trade deadline. But if one of these teams convincingly wins the next 2 series against the other rival, one of those could be essentially back in the mix for the division, and the other could be pretty well dead and know they're going into the deadline as absolute sellers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it more or less does mean that. If one of these 2 teams were to rattle off 6 or 7 of the 8 games that they play over the next 2 weeks, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'd place a pretty strong bet if I could on it being a split or a pretty close 8 games, because that's what it's been this year and historically. But if one of the 2 were to make a statement and take a lot of these games, they'd not only position themselves in a position where they're not as far back, it's not inconceivable that they could make a run for the division with some moves at the trade deadline, while simultaneously putting the other one in their grave and saying you're done, start selling, start picking up the phone and selling now. That's really what it comes down to, because You got this series at Wrigley this weekend, then I think each team plays 2 games against someone else or 3 games against someone else. Cubs play the White Sox, not sure who the Cardinals play. Then 4 at Busch, then the deadline, then it's July 31st. These games mean a lot. I mean, the Cardinals have played really well here recently. All of a sudden, they're only 2.5 back of the Cubs. They're only 10 under 500. And if they were to win 6 of 8 against the Cubs or something like that, all of a sudden maybe that would incentivize John Mozeliak to go get a starting pitcher and to add and try to save his job by putting together a rotation that could go make a run for the division. And if you're the Cubs, we've done this charade for a month and a half now. It's time. This is it. I mean, you have the Cardinals at Wrigley Field for 4 games this weekend. You got Stroman and Steele on the mound tonight and tomorrow afternoon. You need to win or you're done. You need to win or it's going to be another sale for the Cubs and they're done. And so I think it's it's hard to get all excited about 2 teams that are 5 and 10 games under respectively and be like, oh, here we go. This is a huge series. It's not like some of the Cubs-Cardinals series that we've had in the past, but sneakily I think it's a super important series and pair of series for both teams as it comes to the trade deadline.
So it's not in line with the D-backs Braves series that we just saw?
No, it isn't. I wish it was.
The Dodgers, Orioles.
Yeah, that'd be much more fun to talk about than which team can pretend they're in contention and maybe not sell their best players or most valuable free agent players.
Quick aside, how about that D-backs Braves series?
That was 16-13. Was that 2 days ago?
16-13 game, and then today you had Spencer Strider strike out 13.
Oh, really?
Gallen had a perfect game through 6, and then the run started to pour late in that game, and the D-backs were up, I think, 5-4 at one point, but Olsen and Riley hit late inning home runs, and the Braves were able to take that one. But the D-backs did, I believe, win 2 out of 3 in that series, so they needed to get right after slipping a little bit in that NL West. Speaking of the D-backs, in terms of the in-between series for our respective teams, the Cardinals will go to Arizona early next week for 3. The Cubs will play
the
2.
White Sox.
Is it 2 with the White Sox?
On the south side.
Okay. Let's approach it this way. Let's say the argument for, again, if it's a pretty even split, if it's 4-4, it really doesn't matter at all. Both teams are sitting in their same positions and really on the outside of contention, and the Cardinals especially because they're even below the Cubs. But let's make the argument for why one side or the other can win this series convincingly, starting with the Cubs. What would make you feel confident that the Cubs could be able to put themselves in a position to, say, win 6 out of 8 or even better than that in this series against the Cardinals?
It'd be riding the top 2 guys in your rotation. You got Stroman tonight, Steele tomorrow afternoon, and then it sets up perfectly again after you play. You get the 2 games Saturday, Sunday, then 2 on the south side, then it's Stroman, Steele again next Thursday and Friday. I
don't like that.
You got to win pretty much those 4 games. I mean, you got to ride your top guys in the rotation. I don't have confidence in this Cubs lineup. I know they put up 17 on the Nationals, and they scored like 16 of them in like the 7th and 8th innings, whatever. I mean, this lineup's been so frustrating to watch. There's no power in it. I'm not going to sit here and act like the Cubs offense is going to be the reason. It's going to be the pitching staff. It's going to be the top 2 guys in their rotation. You win at the very minimum 3 of 4 of those starts where those 2 guys are going. Best case scenario, you win all 4 of those. And then you maybe split the other ones with a struggling Drew Smyly and awful Jameson Taillon on the mound. I'm not all that confident with the way the Cardinals are playing right now and the Cubs lineup being this poor. But if you're going to win this series, you're going to ride your starting pitching staff, and you're probably going to win some lower scoring games. But I do like how the rotation lines up for the Cubs.
In those offensive eruptions late in that last series against the Nats, who was getting hot there? What was the names that were really popping for the Cubs that maybe will go into the series hot?
It was pretty much everybody. I mean, it was a lot of singles. It was a lot of just kind of small ball. I mean, it's just not a lot of slug on this team. So the big innings are usually you get 6-7 hits in an inning up and down the lineup. That was what it was. They had like a 8-run 8th inning on Tuesday where it was 6 straight singles or something like that.
The old assembly line.
Yeah. So Mike Tauchman had a good series. He's come out of nowhere and been solid for the Cubs. Patrick Wisdom's finally not striking out every plate appearance, has a couple homers here in his last couple games. Cody Bellinger continues to rake here recently. And
where's Dansby's pop?
He is hurt right now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's been a problem. He hasn't really hit for a lot of power this year, but he's hurt. That's another point. They said he should be back at some point in this series, but I don't think it's tonight. So hope to get him back too. But yeah, I don't really have a guy that's red hot. It's kind of been more of a team effort here, but at the same time, it was against the Nationals pitching staff. So
to echo your point on why I feel like the Cubs could convincingly win these next two series against the Cardinals is your guys. I mean, you have Stroman tonight against Steven Matz. Like, that is a ridiculous advantage where Steven Matz is a guy that's, I think he's 0-6 with an ERA.
0-7, 4.86 ERA. You
boy.
have to win tonight if you're the Cubs.
And then you get Steele against Flaherty. And even though Flaherty's been better, you look at his month of July, I think his ERA, I have it right in front of me, 1.45 ERA in July. 3 starts, gave up 3 earned against the Nats in his last start. Before that, scoreless outings against the Marlins and the Yankees. But we're really not that far removed. Pre-All-Star break, 6 earned runs against the Nationals, 6 earned run against the San Francisco Giants. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Flaherty. This is a big spot for him, whether it's pushing the Cardinals back into contention or trying to get him, from a Cardinals standpoint, whether he's going to be a big trade piece, if he has the value, if he goes into the trade deadline with 5 straight really good starts and has a sub-2 ERA in the month of July, then he has appeal either to trade him or maybe you convince yourself that there's enough there to ride it out and try to get him back. Possibly, I would think, a discounted price in free agency based on the full sample size over the last couple of years and the injury concerns. On the Cardinals side, Nolan Arenado is hot. That's something that I would put confidence in. The lineup's been productive. Brendan Donovan's been good. Contreras actually has had some moments here recently. I know in his last 5 games he's hitting over 300, so that's good to see. Alec Burleson's been good in the last 2 weeks or so. I have the stats in front of me. He's hitting 391. Gorman had a big home run, I think, yesterday off Alcantara. And he's been someone that has been streaky, but right now he's going in to this series in good form. So I'm leaning on the Cardinals lineup, where I know you have concerns about maybe the lack of power with the Cubs or just the overall trust in their production. In particular, in these games against Stroman and Steele, the fact you got to see them at the front end of this series and the front end of the next series, you're going to have to outslug this Cubs team for...
It's not hard to do.
For the Cardinals to be able to get the job done. So that's where I'm looking, and I do like that some of those names are just rattled off for in pretty good form of late. Plus, Goldie has traditionally been a thorn in the Cubs side.
Yeah, and, I mean, speaking of the pitching staff, like Marcus Stroman, the one problem that he's had since he's gotten to Chicago, facing the Cardinals. The Cardinals have owned him since he's been in Chicago. So, it's I don't know. You better win tonight is all I'm saying. You got Stroman, Matz, and I'd assume it lines up in a similar fashion for next Thursday at Busch Stadium. I mean, you got to win those games. When you have that much of a pitching advantage and you have a lineup that doesn't have Dansby in it right now and one that just is so inconsistent. The bottom of the Cubs lineup last night was Miles Mastrobuoni, Trey Mancini, and Tucker Barnhart. I mean, that's unserious. That's just not a serious 7, 8, 9. I mean, you step up there. Steven Matz steps up with those 3 due up and is like, oh, I'm having a clean inning here. That's not going to be a problem for me. So it's just, you got to ride your guys, your pitching staff, and those guys got to come to play. Those guys got to shut this Cardinals lineup, which has been red hot here of late, down if the Cubs want to have any chance of making a statement here this weekend.
I'm efforting Marcus Stroman's career numbers against the Cardinals, and I do have them up in 9 starts. Now, this goes pre-Chicago Cubs, but it does play into
5
what
or
you
6
said.
of those have been with the Cubs.
Yep. So in 9 starts, he's 1-5, 4.96 ERA. I like to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was on such a roll and then went to London, and the Cardinals kind of roughed him up. Now, Trey Mancini did not give him much help by booting a ball a first grader makes a play on. But at the same time, Cardinals hit him around. I know last year at Wrigley in May, I want to say, they lit him up for like 9 runs or something like that. So it's been a problem for him. So tonight's a big one. Tonight's a big one for him and for the Cubs to get the series off on the right foot. You just have to win tonight at Wrigley with Stroman against Matz. You have to, or really it's kind of all hope's kind of lost for the Cubs if you can't get tonight's game, in my opinion.
Big picture across the division, I am going to be very interested to see what the Reds' approach is going into the deadline. I mean, they're probably looking at it from a long-term view, knowing they have a lot of young pieces, not wanting to sacrifice probably too much. I'd imagine, I don't know off the top of my head what the Reds' farm system looks like. You would think that a number of their top prospects are on the big league roster as of right now, and that in the future, and just in terms of building this thing up, they don't want to sacrifice too much to try to make a run at it this year when it's probably a year or two too soon just to really get the NLCS or make a push at a World Series appearance, if you even want to go that far. In terms of the Brewers, I mean, at the deadline last year, they weren't really out of it, and they traded Josh Hader. So that's a fairly small market team, and I don't know what their flexibility is in terms of adding as well.
I think they're set up okay. You're going to trust your pitching staff if you're the Brewers. You have a good enough rotation. You have a good enough bullpen. You go out and get 2 or 3 rental bats at the deadline who aren't going to cost all that much, and you're the clear favorite in the division. I mean, it's that
That's
simple to me. So I think they're set up pretty well. They have to do it. They got to find the right guys that are going to piece into that lineup and actually give them the offensive help they need. But you get 2 or 3 rental bats on that Brewers team, I think they're pretty clearly feeling good about where they are.
That's a good point. And yeah, we'll be, as we get closer to that August 1st deadline, the names that will surface off the top of my head, I don't know what hitters might be on the market in terms of who the Brewers could go out and command and that whole kind of thing. But this picture will become more clear as we get further within the next week and a half, and that will be very interesting, not only for the Cardinals and Cubs, but around the division. If you want to weigh in, you can, 217-359-2255. I know we got a lot of Cards and Cubs fans out there. If you have a thought going into this stretch where the rivals will square off for 8 over the next week or so, let us know what you think. If you have confidence in one side convincingly winning, if you're a Cardinals fan, there's probably even a faction of the Cardinals fan base out there who they don't want to lose to the Cubs, don't get me wrong, but might not want John Mozeliak to be able to have an out with kind of what the term was around here during the John Gross era was the fake rally for the Cardinals, getting back, quote unquote, in a soft division, and then ultimately faltering. But John Mozeliak can say, hey, we had injuries early and we showed life down the stretch, and I'm keeping my job for another year. I don't want to see that, but I also don't want to get dominated by the Cubs either. So let us know what you think. Scott says fire Mo. 100% Scott, I'm on board with you. But it will be an interesting Cards-Cubs series kicking off tonight there in Wrigley. Going forward, we're going to talk the NFL. We're going to talk about the running back market and the dispute there with Saquon Barkley, along with some other running backs, and just what that looks like going forward in the NFL. And we'll talk some more storylines in terms of Justin Fields and some others in the next question. Once again, if you want to weigh in, you can. 217-359-2255. Catch a break, and we will return. This is The Drive.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. That's why State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow is right here in Champaign-Urbana to help you select the right protection at the right price. Kurt will make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. Just call him when you want the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By now, you've all heard the expression, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 for PDR Automotive. They are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR. But who are they? They, the PDR staff, understand that a name is only as good as the people that represent it. The PDR staff has more than 335 years of combined automotive experience, several employees now on staff for more than 25 years. PDR, more than just a name. Family owned and operated, now celebrating over 50 50 years in business.
As our nation celebrates its 247th birthday this July, Gale Frericks Trucking is extending a firecracker of a deal to professional Class A CDL drivers interested in joining our team. In addition to our standard offering of great percentage pay, paid holidays and vacations, pre-planned dispatches, benefits, home time every weekend, and $1,200 per week gross pay guarantee, drivers that join us in the month of July will receive an additional $247 per week for the first 16 weeks with us. Take the family out to dinner when you're home every weekend, or use it as a Christmas fund. It doesn't matter to us. This is America, and you have the freedom to do with it what you want. If you have a Class A CDL and would like to explore our regional van and flatbed opportunities and work for a company that works as hard for you as you do for them, call Tim at 765-793-7131 or email timo@gftlog.com.
Jay Lehman here, former U of I All-American linebacker. Do you like steak? Do you like red meat? Well, if you do, you got to check out Long Branch Steakhouse. They had phenomenal steaks, sides, salads. I love the onion rings and the fried mushrooms as well as the fried pickles. You've got to check out Long Branch Steakhouse in beautiful downtown Gifford. That's right, make the trip to Gifford for some of the best steaks you'll have. Kids love it too. I brought my whole family. I'll see you at Long Branch Steakhouse in downtown Gifford.
Illini fans, stock up on great Illini gear this summer at the official fan store of the Fighting Illini, Game Day Spirit. Their famous buy one, get one free shirt selection is perfect for summer and has some great new designs. Shop their line of polos and other business casual apparel from great brands like Nike, Cutter & Buck, Tommy Bahama, and more. Refresh your wardrobe this summer at Game Day Spirit, located at the corner of Neal and Kirby in Champaign, 6th and Green in Campustown, and online 24/7 at GameDaySpirit.com. Game Day Spirit, where Illini fans shop.
Hi, it's Stevie J. Sit back and relax and take the drive with Lonte and Derek Piper. Weekdays 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. I put it out to the text line. Cards and Cubs fans here, Central Illinois, and everybody's streaming us via the YouTube and also StevieJ.com. How you feeling if you're a Cards or Cubs fan? Do you want to get hot in this upcoming stretch? Of course, you want to beat your rivals, but how do you view this? Is one team better positioned for a little run here to get themselves back in it? I said before the break, Scott says fire Mo, and he's on the series as a whole, don't care, ready for football, college, and NFL. 217 says, I agree unless one of the teams wins 6 of 8. Both teams are sellers and won't be near the playoff race, in my opinion. Another 217 asks where I'm going in Florida, and I'm going to Fort Lauderdale.
Nice.
So that'll be nice. It'll be fun. Fly out tomorrow out of Indy. The TBT's going on real quick to hit on. Illinois has not had a team here the last 2 years. Are you missing it at all?
Honestly, a little bit. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I liked it. I like seeing some of those old Illini guys get out there and just watch some hoops in the summer when hoops is over. I don't have much reason to watch the tournament unless there's an Illini team, so I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think last year, 2 years ago when Illinois, the House of Pain team, lost over there in Peoria. They're playing at Bradley, and they lost their first-round game. After assembling a team, their first year was really exciting, especially there was no really other sports going on. They beat Aaron Kraft's Buckeyes squad in an upset, and that was really cool. We were live watching that game and on the radio at the same time. We were able to live commentate and then get some guys on the air. And then the next year was a disappointment. I know they added Brandon Paul that year, and just kind of people are like, I don't know. It maybe doesn't matter as much. I will say when you don't have a contending baseball team, and just in general, we're hitting the dead of summer, it'd be nice to focus on some former Illini and see those guys in action and be given a reason to care about this tournament, which I'm with you. Otherwise, I don't really have an interest. But now that we've had some notable players cycle out of the program, and you don't get the NBA caliber of guys. We're not going to see Ayo Dosunmu play for the House of Pain Illinois alumni team, but Trent Frazier's a guy that could be able to be added to that team if they were to reassemble. Kofi Coburn.
Oh, boy.
That's enough.
That'd be fun.
Isn't that enough of a reason to run it back? Like get Feliz, get Kofi, get Trent, and some of those other. I mean, Ravonte Rice was on the team when they had it the 2 years. I think that'd be a squad I'd be interested in watching. And a 217 says the TBT makes me remember Mike Dahm. What a legend!
Oh man,
he was a transfer portal addition.
Yeah, he was
for the House of Pain, and man, he was really, really good.
Yeah, he was outstanding. That was fun.
Would you want to see Matthew Meyer on that team? Yes or no?
Why not?
Yeah,
give me some shooting, give me some step backs and some. You might have to sit him down a little bit, but I'll take the spurts. If he's hot that day, it'd be fun.
It would be. It would be. I know some would say no because they just kind of feel sour about the way that thing ended. Oh, yeah, Maxwell has a good point. Georgie B would be great.
Oh, that'd be so great.
Kofi
the
and
energy
Georgie
that
reunion.
he'd bring. Georgie out there pumping his arms out around and dancing on the sideline again. Oh, I want to see that.
Surely Georgie's G League contract wouldn't conflict with that.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't imagine. So I've been convinced, and us talking about it for a minute, I already want to see House of Pain run it back. Next year, let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Kofi, Georgie B, Ravonte Rice, Trent Frazier, and was there another one? Andres Feliz. Sounds like a good five to me.
I love that. That team would compete, no question.
You could get Meyer. Anybody else recently that I'm missing that we'd want to see?
I don't know.
Sky Clark?
No, thank you.
After he leaves Louisville this year, he could join the Andre Curbelo?
Nah.
Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. But you got to get.
Who else was on the who else was on the one recently? I know Malcolm Hill was on it, but he got an NBA contract now. Well, at least he's been floating around, so I don't know if that would work.
Malcolm Hill was on that team.
You have like Michael Finke.
Michael Finke. LeBron was a coach. He wasn't a player on that team.
I thought he maybe played one of the 2 years.
Okay. Maybe he played the first year and then was a coach the second year.
Possible.
I think. Would you want to see DeMonte Williams?
Yeah, I would.
Defender.
Yeah, just get out there and
see who he's going to go forehead to forehead. Let's do this. Although Luka Garza is playing in the NBA, but can we get a first round matchup of Iowa's, let's get Iowa alumni team. Let's get Illinois House of Pain back and then put them against each other in the first round. Tell me you would not be interested in seeing that.
That would be incredible. You'd have to get the only thing you'd have to do is make sure that DeMonte was on the Illini team and Connor McCaffrey was on the Iowa team.
Absolutely.
And then we're good to go. Get Bohannon on the Iowa team.
Yeah, pull him off
Frazier,
the Hunter Dickinson podcast.
And then Garza and Kofi.
100%.
Let's go. Come on. Let's get this going for next year.
Another one, Maxwell is bringing the names. Alfonso Plummer.
Oh, yeah. Give me a
You're
shooter.
You're going to want him.
Give me a shooter all day long. That'd be a great addition.
Illinois could have a team that could do some damage. I like it.
Didn't the first year that they were going to do it during the COVID, wasn't Corey Bradford supposed to play at like 42 years old or something, and then he backed out?
He was. He was just finishing up his pro career, and he was going to be like an off-the-bench shooter.
Right, but
I don't know how well. I mean, Corey
would have liked to see that.
Yeah, 100%.
3 years later, 4 years later, it'll be. I don't know if he's going to lace him up, but
no. I know that Mike LaTulip, who actually is, I don't know if he's on. We have the TBT game pulled up right now. I don't know if he's on this call. He's actually going to be commentating on a couple of these games for ESPN, which is really cool. And congrats to Mike, friend of the show, and a guy that does some work for us at Illini Inquirer. I'm really excited for him. But he was trying to get Jamar Smith at one point, and sharpshooter who it didn't work out here at Illinois. I mean, he had some issues off the floor. Of course, the incident with Brian Carwell and the DUI situation, but had a heck of a career overseas. Like, he was in the EuroLeague, and I don't know if he won like a EuroLeague Finals MVP. I'd have to look that up, but he was someone that was still playing at a high level even as recently as maybe even the present day, if not a year or so ago. So Jamar Smith's a guy that you could consider. DJ Richardson, maybe someone you'd look at, or get Brandon Paul. I know you gotta be able to find a way this all works together. Got too many alphas, too many shot makers on the same team. You kind of try to balance out the roles and everything. Lindy mentioned Nana Egwu was on these teams recently when the House of Pain was out there playing. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, especially year one. You take a couple of years off. You have a couple of new faces like Georgie, like Trent, like Kofi that you could bring on. I think it would add some spice and would definitely have the interest. So I'm putting my stamp on let's get this done, and maybe I'll send a text to Mike after the show and say, hey, we're advocating on the airwaves. We're demanding that you bring it back, and let's get this thing going. All right, let's talk some football. Let's go with the running back market, and then in the next hour we'll tackle a couple other topics in the NFL next question. But you have Saquon Barkley, who had a heck of a year last year, helping lead the Giants to the postseason and really propping up, and part of this argument we're going to get to is propping up Daniel Jones to really play his best season of football. I know that Brian Daboll coming in, the former offensive coordinator with the Bills, played a big role in that as well. But Daniel Jones gets a big payday this offseason, and they give the franchise tag to Saquon Barkley. I know he's had some issues staying healthy, but that seems, just in terms of value to a franchise, seems flipped. It seems like the guy who should be getting the big money. I know we all know that the shelf life of running backs is not very long. We know that you have the injury concern. We know that quarterbacks are it's the most valuable position probably in sports. And the number of starting caliber quarterbacks is so few in comparison to how many capable running backs there are to plug and play in that role. I'm not saying anybody could they could get somebody in the middle of the NFL draft and, it's the next Saquon Barkley. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But for someone like Barkley of his caliber to not get that extension, and now he goes into the season on a franchise tag and cannot negotiate that contract until the end of the season. Same thing goes for Josh Jacobs, who led the league in rushing last year, had a really breakout year after some success on his rookie and second year, then a little bit of a down stretch before then a real resurgence last year. And then Tony Pollard's another one that has already signed his franchise tag, and not nearly as proven as either of those other guys, but it's brought up a conversation regarding just the overall value of the running back and the market there. So I wanted to play Saquon Barkley's clip. He was on a podcast. Its name escapes me right now, but
Money Matters, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
The Money Matters podcast he was on, and he's flat out said that, he may have to hold out. He may have to consider the fact that based on him not getting the contract value that he desires and feels like he earned, that he may have to sit out. And it's been done before. Le'Veon Bell is an example of sitting out an entire season. And would that be something that he would ultimately do? Usually it seems like almost every summer we have a star that's threatening that, and very rarely does it happen. But it is on the table, at least for Saquon, to miss some time. And right now his franchise tag is unsigned. So here's Saquon Barkley speaking on the matter.
I have no worry about going on a football field and knowing that I'm not playing for my worth, or saying if I have to play under, because this is my leverage. My leverage is I can say you to the Giants, I can say you to my teammates and be like, you want me to show you my worth? You want to show you how valuable I am to the team? I won't show up. I won't play it down. And that's a play I can use. Anybody knows me, knows that's not something I want to do, but it's something that crossed my mind. It's I never thought I would ever do that, but now I'm in a point where it's Jesus, I might have to take it to this level, and am I willing? Am I prepared to take it to the level? I don't know. That's something I got to sit down and I got to talk to my family. I got to sit down and talk to my team. Got to really strategize about this. Can't just go off of emotions.
Shout out to the Money Matters podcast, and shout out to Kyle for some high-level producing with the little beeps in there.
Yeah, I couldn't just cut it all out because we got to get what he's saying there. He has some strong words. We got to hear them, but yeah, we can't get in trouble here.
He's not the only running back that's had some strong words, at least when you also include some others on Twitter, which I'll read a few tweets. Derrick Henry, of course, King Henry, a dominant back for the Tennessee Titans, says, at this point, just take the running back position out of the game. The ones that want to be great and work as hard as they can to give their all to an organization just seems like that doesn't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve. You also had Jonathan Taylor say, if you're good enough, they'll find you. If you work hard enough, you'll succeed. If you succeed, you boost the organization, and then doesn't matter. You're a running back. And that's both of those in response to a tweet by Matt Miller, who's an NFL draft scout or covers scouting and the NFL draft for, I believe, Bleacher Report. But he said that for years, what he's hinting at is the plan for these organizations: draft a running back, use him as much as you can. If he's good, franchise tag him for 1 year. And at that point, based on the structure of these contracts, a rookie deal, 4 years you get him for. Then you franchise him in year 5. Then you've gotten 5 solid years out of a running back in their prime. And really, you're only paying a high dollar figure relatively that 5th year, and then you let them go and you recycle again.
Yeah, and honestly, it's even more than that. If you're a first-round running back like Saquon is or some of these other high-level guys, it's a 4-year deal, then a 5th-year option that a team can pick up. Then you can tag up to 2 times on the same player. So theoretically, you could have team control over a guy for 7 years. Wow. I don't know exactly how the franchise tag system works, but to my knowledge, you can tag a guy twice. And it's just, it's a system that is, for running backs especially, for a position that teams do not want to pay guys into their 30s or age 28's the age that everyone, that's kind of the cutoff point that these teams are using, saying once you hit 28 as a running back, your production is going to decline. We don't want to commit money to running backs past age 28. And so the contract system in the NFL is hurting running backs more than any other position, because if you're not hitting free agency until you're 27, 28 years old, you've been in the league for 5-6 years. As a running back, you're never going to get a big contract at that point because no one's going to commit 4 or 5 more years of money to you and enter your 30s past your prime and to a time where most running backs don't hold up. So the way I look at it is I completely get where running backs are coming from here, where these guys are coming from. They deserve to be paid. They play a position where you're getting hit every single down. It's a really physically demanding position. Not that every position isn't in the NFL, but running backs probably more than almost any other position, maybe more than any other position, because you're getting hit by 3-4 guys every single play. You're going to the ground. And the value that these guys have to an offense is pretty large in most cases. Now, the NFL has moved towards it's a passing league now. It's moved towards a quarterback-driven league, a passing offense-driven league. So running backs' value has declined a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, the Giants is a perfect example. Where would the Giants have been last year without Saquon? They're not going to the postseason. They're not having that breakthrough year without the production and the star power that Saquon gave their offense. Because Daniel Jones, he had a good year last year. Saquon was a big part of that, and the opportunities he opened up for him. So it's tough. The way I look at it is I totally get where running backs are coming from. They deserve to be paid. They have the right to feel this way. I also see where organizations are coming from. It's not on these organizations to make a bad financial decision for their team just to appease, just to give a guy what he quote unquote deserves or is worth. I get it. If you're an organization and a guy's hitting free agency at 27, you're not giving him a 5-year deal. You're not guaranteeing $50 million to a guy that a position that is often injured, historically has seen production decline once you get to 28, 29, 30. It's not on these organizations. When this system is set up perfectly for them to get the most they can out of a rookie contract, tag a guy once, tag a guy a second time if that guy's really worth it, and then say, we can draft another guy. We can find a committee that we think can almost equal the production of one of our guys. It's not a thing that I disagree with any of these organizations. I don't think the Giants should necessarily give Saquon a 5-year, $80 million contract. We've even seen some of these contracts recently. The Todd Gurley contract comes to mind, where he was
point.
Offensive Player of the Year, I think, in 17 or 18, gets a 5-year big contract from the Rams, and he gets cut after like year 2, or he does not make it through almost half that contract. We saw Ezekiel Elliott, 5-year deal, or he might have gotten a 6-year deal from the Cowboys. He's cut after year 3 of that contract this offseason.
Yeah, those are both great examples. Gurley, of course, the injury was never really the same.
That's true, yeah.
And then Zeke just got outplayed by
But that's
Tony
the
Pollard.
part of it. I mean, running backs are as injury prone as any position just because of how much wear and tear there is and how much you're getting hit. So,
yeah, no, that's very well put. And I agree with you. I think for the most part, a lot of these teams are doing this the right way in terms of roster building. I mean, they are, yes, to an extent, exploiting the running back position based on the setup of the contracts. And you brought up a good point about if you're if you're a first round pick, you can use that team option to get them into a 5th year, and then you franchise tag them. So you really have a lot of this control before you're letting them hit the open market and command a longer term deal with more guaranteed money. Now, yes, the franchise tag is always pretty good market value. Like you look at this year for those at running back that are signing franchise tags, they're getting north of $10 million for 1 year, which is fully guaranteed. And I had it pulled up where the annual value of running backs in terms of around the league, like Christian McCaffrey is getting $16 million a year, Kamara $15 million a year, Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb $12 million, Aaron Jones $11, and then just below that you're going to have Tony Pollard, if they sign Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, at just over $10 million per year. So you're talking top 10 money in terms of the position, but just the lack of a guarantee beyond 1 year is something that really hurts those guys, especially as we're talking about at a position where an injury can really dethrone your career, and you're pushing into that window where there's that over the hill moment for those guys again. But the flip side of that is, why should the team bite the bullet on that? So what's the fix? I think that's kind of the question that people are asking. Like, do you make the rookie contracts? Some have proposed that you make an exception for running backs, which I don't see how that gets through. Like, you talk about the Players Association, you talk about guys at other positions. Like, then you're going to start having linebackers and cornerbacks and receivers. The wide receiver position is arguably, and I would say maybe even not, more valuable in a lot of cases, maybe outside of a few, like maybe outside of McCaffrey and Derrick Henry. But for the most part, people would rather have a star wide receiver than a star running back. And why should those guys be in a different situation than a running back? So I don't see a situation where you have a clock in terms of those rookie deals be different for a running back than for a different position. Maybe do you set it back for all positions? Do you say, like similar to the NBA, I think the NBA is a 2-year, if you're a first round pick, so you'd have to set this somewhere in the 3rd or 4th round and then extrapolate from there. But would it be a 2-year guarantee, then maybe a team option in year 3, and you can't tag after that? So instead of hitting the open market in year 7, 6 or 7 than you are in year 4, would that be a better option? And then you're limiting how many times you can franchise tag in general. Of course, that would have to apply across all positions, but that's something that maybe could be considered. But then you're trying to get these teams who are these rules a lot of times being made for? You got to get the team owners, the people with the money, to agree to these type of things. Why would they want to set themselves up to be higher risk, to throw more money earlier? That's where it gets tricky. But there's no doubt that when you have a situation where these running backs are giving 4 or 5 years and you're only getting really, really good market value in one of the 5, like something's wrong there.
Yeah. I don't know what the solution is, to be honest with you. I mean, you laid it out there with the length. I mean, the length of the rookie deal and the fact that a team basically has control of you for 4, 5, 6 years. And as a running back, that's pretty much your your average lifespan for a running back in the NFL. I don't necessarily know if the length of a rookie deal is going to decrease. I think the franchise tag is something that I've always kind of been so about. It's something that you don't see in these other professional leagues where you can just unilaterally say we're placing this tag on you and we're going to take the average of, what is it? Is it the average of the top 10?
I'm not sure what it is.
Annual average, something like that. I mean, it's not, like you said, you're getting a pretty fair market value for yourself over 1 year, but it's something you don't really see unless an option has been negotiated on a previous contract or is built into the rookie structure of a deal. You don't see that in any other leagues where a team can unilaterally say we're placing this monetary value on it. You don't have to agree. I mean, you have to sign it, obviously, but this is it. It's this or nothing. And then you see these situations where guys are holding out and we have all this stuff going on. I don't know if the franchise tag should just go away completely. I don't necessarily think it'd be a terrible thing if it did. I think maybe you place it where you can't tag a guy coming off his rookie deal. You can only tag guys that have signed a second contract, something like that maybe, forces you to make a decision a little earlier and have a little less control over guys that are coming off that rookie deal, because really it could impact other positions as well. Running back is the most dire position, but some of these other guys are in similar situations. I just don't know if there's one set solution to this problem other than, I mean, I don't see a path forward other than running backs becoming more of a bigger part of the game again, and that's just not where it's headed.
No,
and so it's a tough situation for running backs to be in. I completely get where some of these guys are coming from, but at the same time, like, it's not on these teams to fix it. It's not on, oh, hey, Giants, pay Saquon Barkley way more than he's worth. Take this massive risk 3-4 years down the line when he's approaching 30 years old just because he's a valuable player to your team. Like, these teams have to look out for the long term as well. And at the end of the day, it's not a smart long-term decision to pay a running back into their 30s and guarantee a bunch of money to a guy that's been in the league for a long time. As a running back, it's just the reality of it.
I do think in a vacuum, the Saquon decision is one that the Giants maybe could have done differently. Like I'd still be skeptical of, like, they gave Daniel Jones a 4-year, $160 million contract, like $40 million a year over 4 years, and Saquon gets the franchise tag. I don't know if I'd want to commit to Daniel Jones that long after really he only had one breakthrough season. In hindsight, maybe you franchise tag Daniel Jones and try to come to an agreement with Saquon. I don't know. That's just kind of me spitballing there, but at the surface value or surface level, after the Giants season last year, giving the huge money to Daniel Jones and being in this dispute with Saquon Barkley just seems backwards. But that's just kind of and I think that there are those exceptions where you have maybe a situation where you want to give a running back like a Christian McCaffrey, and I do think that Barkley's one of those guys, especially when he's healthy. We saw what he could do finally last year after a few years of injury-plagued seasons, where he's finally able to break through and have a fully healthy year. And I mean, he's a difference-making type of player, even in an era where the running back across the board isn't as valuable, or just the shelf life isn't necessarily there. Before we wrap this thing up, I do want to bring up the Le'Veon Bell. I mentioned him earlier as someone that sat out a season. He is partially to blame for some of the current situation. That case study is very interesting because you look at, he was with the Steelers 5 years, 4 years on that rookie deal, making less than $1 million a year. They franchise tag him in year 5. He gets $12 million that year, so a nice payday. But we're talking about what was one of the best backs in the league. Like, he was uber productive, utilized a ton in the passing game and also on the ground. And when he sat out in 2018, James Conner fills the role, and in 2018, James Conner runs for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. And the Steelers are one of those consistent as ever organizations. Lindy brought up a good point, like Denver. Denver has always been, whoever the running back is in Denver runs for 1,000 yards. Mm-hmm. So some of these teams are just set up to have production on the ground. And yes, there's more to it than just the running back itself. You got to have the offensive line. You got to have, a good team for the most part around them. But some of these teams can just churn out running backs, and when their contract's up, they let them go and they draft another one or sign one in free agency, and they run for 1,000 yards just like it's nothing. So that's what it makes it all very interesting.
Yeah, I think that is the other part of it, is just the talent gap and the production gap when it comes to a running back. It isn't very big. You can fill the shoes of even some of these top guys. Now, is anyone going to be Saquon Barkley that the Giants go out and replace him with? No, they're not. But how much of a difference is it going to make going after, drafting a guy and that's on his rookie contract, or going and getting a committee of two guys? Like, I think of the Dolphins in that front. They've got two solid, not phenomenal running backs in their backfield, but it's just, it's a position that just isn't seen as valuable as it used to be. There's reasons for it. You look at some of these, I know a lot of the narrative that comes along is, well, look at these past Super Bowl winners, look at their running back. It's fair enough to look at that. I mean, the last dominant running back on a Super Bowl winner was Marshawn Lynch in 2013. The last all-pro running back on a Super Bowl winner. So it's just kind of the way the game is headed.
Yeah, very well put. And Lindy hit on that as well. Said only 2 teams had 1,000-yard rushers over the last 10 Super Bowl winners. Heard that on ESPN Radio today. We are due for a break. We can talk a little bit more about this. We will hit on some free agent running backs that are out there to be had in our NFL Next Question. If you want to win, you can. 217-359-2255. This is The Drive.
I don't think people knew what was in his mind.
King was to be flown back to the United States after being jailed for assault, but slipped away from escorts at the airport before he crossed the border.
Fox's Gernal Scott, a lawyer for the wife of suspected Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann, says the family was blindsided when police knocked on their door.
The lawyer representing the wife says police took their passports, phones, and computers, and all this comes as investigators are now collecting evidence at the family's home for a 7th straight day. Now, some of the stranger pieces of evidence to emerge include a portrait of a blonde woman with a battered face and bruising around her eyes, and a childlike doll in a glass case. The Suffolk County DA tells Fox investigators will take their time so they don't miss anything.
Fox's Nate Foy in Massapequa Park, New York. The prosecutor also dismissing reports that some of the killings may have happened inside the family home. America is listening to Fox News.
Okay, next time you're at the store, I dare you to not think about the unmistakable, fresh, clean scent of Irish Spring. Yeah, you heard me. I want you to resist picturing a shower filled with those sensational Irish Spring suds. And if you succeed, well, you got what my gramps used to call resolutitude. Not a real word, but let's be honest, you're probably going to end up leaving with Irish Spring because of its irresistible scent and because you have zero resolutitude. Pick up Irish Spring today.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
A code of ethics for the U.S. Supreme Court clears one hurdle, passing the Senate Judiciary Committee, but it may stall.
Democratic Senator Dick Durbin, the committee chairman, says the bill is necessary after several justices have been criticized for their personal business dealings.
Failing to disclose this to the public has left a bitter taste in the mouth of most Americans about the Supreme Court.
But Republicans like Senator Marsha Blackburn believe the Supreme Court should be the one to adopt a code of ethics instead of being implemented by Congress.
Throw a bill out there, try to delegitimize the court so you can impact the court, reshape the court.
The bill isn't likely to pass and become law with Republicans controlling the House and Democrats having a slim Senate majority. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
There's renewed hope of avoiding a nationwide UPS strike.
The Teamsters Union represents 340,000 UPS workers who say they are ready to strike. 2 weeks ago, contract talks broke down and both sides blamed each other. Now UPS reached out to the labor union to restart the talks. There's been some agreement apparently on air conditioning in vehicles and ending a wage system in which weekend drivers make less, though a sticking point has been pay increases for part-time workers.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Talks are expected to resume next week. Someone's holding a winning ticket worth more than $1 billion from last night's Powerball drawing. It was sold near downtown Los Angeles at a small market, which gets its own check for $1 million. California Lottery spokesperson Carolyn Becker says schools also win.
Thanks to this jackpot that grew for 39 different draws, a roll of 39 draws, the California Lottery raised nearly $80 million for public schools just from this one game, just from the last 3 months.
A jackpot winner has up to 1 year to claim the prize. Mixed day for Wall Street, the Dow up 163, but the NASDAQ dropped more than 2%. Elisa Brady, Fox News.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff.
Check. I literally just create madness.
Well, they're up.
I'm going to go off here.
They don't have a great quarterback.
I got to take a break. I'm getting in trouble.
To win the Big Ten, you first got to win the West.
Bad Bunny.
Have you heard his name in a while?
No.
Has it bothered you?
No. Defensively, they got to come in with some confidence.
Is that even analytics?
I am in a parking garage, kind of lost.
Terrence Shannon, Matthew Meyer, R.J. Melendez, Coleman Hawkins.
These trophy presentations aren't over.
I didn't come here to go 5-7.
I'm so proud of Illinois football right now.
I'm so tired of Joel Embiid.
We're not taking Patrick Corbin.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
You are Reba McEntire's niece.
Roshan Russell.
Coach Bielma.
You no longer salute to yourself.
What? We got all kinds of things for you here.
There's a lot of glass.
Oh.
Guys, we have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
It's The Drive.
Smack Dogs.
Thunderstruck! Thunderstruck! Yeah, Thunderstruck!
It is The Drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. Good discussion there, and appreciate the input on the U of I Atlanta Link text line regarding the running back position in the NFL. A lot to digest on that one. It's going to be very interesting to see if there are any changes, but Lindy did point out that the way the CBA has been agreed upon in terms of the contract, I think it's late 2020s, maybe even 2030 before that expires. So
that's right. Yeah.
Could be a while before there is any real change on that front. It's crazy that like the year Austin Eckler had last year and like he was being floated around in trade talks this offseason, ultimately didn't get moved. Did he have enough? I would imagine he had value, but it's a different era now. I go back 10 years, maybe it's different, but just the fact that the Chargers would want to trade Eckler or just be interested in entertaining that, a guy that's 28 and is reaching that point in his career. I mean, he's had a lot of high usage. He's had injuries. Maybe they see some of the writing on the wall and say, hey, instead of paying him big money, we'd rather maybe see what we can get for him. It's just crazy. And I do want to hit on that with some other backs that are actually readily available right now in free agency when we get into our NFL next question, which let's just do it right now. Here we go. I don't know if we're going to have John Gross on this one.
We're not.
Oh, man. John, you left us.
He mysteriously disappeared
crazy
from the hotkeys list, and then you search through YouTube, and you can't find his angry next question.
Man, what a loss.
I think he just had enough of us.
I guess. I saw him actually on the road when I was traveling for Peach Jam, and he was over at Adidas. He's such a nice dude. I've always really liked John, and we had a nice little talk. And appreciate what John and his staff did for me in helping me get into the Illini basketball beat, and always someone that I think anybody, even as a fan, if you're frustrated with the direction of the program over those years, always felt like John was a good guy, and did have a good year one, but just couldn't get a point guard, and unfortunately it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
But he's not joining us on the radio either, and that makes me sad. So John will pour one out for you.
Did you ask him when you saw him? You're like, can you rejoin us on the hotkey list?
I should say, like, I could have, like, with my phone recorded him saying next question there. Maybe we just need to get him on the phone and say, hey, John, can you ask us, or can you say next question for us? We need to have you part of this segment because you've been a pillar of it for years on years on years. But we'll just have to do it without him. We'll see if we can recover. First question. Let's stick with running backs while we're there, and then we'll pivot into some other talking points. Dalvin Cook is available. 27 years old, free agent. The Vikings elected not to re-sign him. Ezekiel Elliott, is he 28, I think? Thereabouts.
Sounds right.
Let's see. I've got it in front of me. Zeke Elliott, 27. Dalvin Cook, 27. Leonard Fournette, 28. Kareem Hunt, 27. All of those guys are free agents as we speak. I think it's the question that I'm getting to. I think the first one is an obvious one. Who's the most attractive of those based on price? I mean, Dalvin Cook, I'm imagining you have to pay up a little bit more for, but he's the most attractive of that group, I would imagine. And the follow-up question I think that I wanted to ask you in particular, Kyle, is that Dalvin has been linked to like 3 AFC East teams, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots. I saw the Patriots based on, I think, FanDuel or DraftKings is the odds-on favorite to land him. How much would a guy like that move the needle in that division?
I don't think it would a ton. I think all those teams have, again, do they have a Dalvin Cook caliber running back in their backfield? No, but they've got capable guys. They've got guys that are going to keep them afloat. They've got guys that are probably going to, they're going to be good enough. Is Dalvin Cook going to come in and to the Jets, who have Breece Hall, who's coming off a great rookie year, or to the Dolphins, who have 2 guys who have both had very productive careers in the NFL, and now a rookie that they just drafted in the 3rd round? Is he going to come in and all of a sudden elevate that offense from 3 spots or whatever arbitrary amount you want to put on it? Like, no, I don't think so. I think he'd be a nice addition for any of these teams. If you're telling me the Dolphins could sign him to a 1-year deal, I'm all for that. I'd love to watch Dalvin Cook play for my team, but I don't think it's necessarily anything that's going to move the needle enough to say, oh, now the Jets signed him, now they've clearly passed the Dolphins for second in the AFC East behind the Bills, or the Patriots signed him up, look out, they're a playoff team now. No, I just don't see that. And I think that kind of speaks a little bit to the discussion we just had in running backs, their value in today's NFL. And a guy like Dalvin Cook, who a couple years ago was an all-pro running back, now you're talking about, is he really going to make a big difference? I'm questioning that, and that kind of is the whole idea of the current state of the running back position.
He's played 6 seasons, all for the Vikings. Career earnings so far, $32 million. So we're talking a little more than $5 million a year for a guy that's been a 4 straight season 1,000-yard rusher. Go back to 2020, 1,500 yards on the ground, 16 touchdowns. That's where you have this conversation of something needs to change in terms of the running back market and how we're compensating. Can you do it in terms of incentivizing some of the workload, the production? Again, though, you'd fall in line with having to do that at different positions, I imagine, and that would just end up having owners having to pull more out of their pocketbook, and the rest of the rosters would be less talented because you couldn't afford as many guys. So I don't know. I don't have the answer. Lindy says, why would the Bills not go get him? They could. They're probably the most running back needy of the group in that division. I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but that would be interesting, and that would make an already daunting offense be even more so. I am biasly saying, as a Ramondre Stevenson fantasy owner in a dynasty league, please do not sign Dalvin Cook for the Patriots.
Yeah,
that would not make me too happy for sure. But I don't know. Do you think that the Patriots will fork over that money like they didn't for DeAndre Hopkins? I don't know what's going on there in New England. They're not doing a great job of putting the best situation around Mac Jones in what seems like a pivotal year 3.
I don't really see it. I thought them being in on Hopkins made some sense, but also I didn't really see the value that he would see going there, and then he chooses the Titans, and I think to myself, well, actually, I'd probably take the Patriots situation with Belichick and whatever, but I don't know. The Patriots have had a lot of rumors around. They've been in on a lot of players this offseason, haven't really done a whole lot. And so I don't know if they're going to. I think they're kind of just going to stand pat. And to me, they're the clear 4th place team in that division right now.
Before we move on, let me phrase it this way. Would you agree that Dalvin Cook's the most valuable of the group of free agents, even considering you might have to pay more of a price for him?
For sure.
Outside of him, would you rather have Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, or Kareem Hunt?
I would probably, my answer is going to be based on kind of the role that he's played here recently. I'd like a Kareem Hunt in my team. I think the role that he's played for the Browns, he's been a high-level pass catcher, a phenomenal complement to one of the best running backs in football, Nick Chubb. They've coexisted very well and complemented each other very well. I think he could fit on any team. I think you're signing a Zeke, you're signing a Fournette. Those guys are more bell cow guys that they're going to expect a lot of carries. I think Kareem Hunt could fit a specific role in an offense that these other guys probably couldn't as well. And he's not the best of that group, but I think I don't have put a ton of value in these running backs. I like a guy that can kind of fit a more specified role.
I think that's a great point. I do think that Zeke can be one of those touchdown thieves if he goes somewhere similar to like a Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams had a great year last year for the Lions, not to take away and say that he just stole touchdowns, but if he's someone that is like a goal line specialist, not that that's all he'll be limited to, but in particular when you get down there and you want a physical in between the tackles running back, and maybe a lesser workload, although it developed that way with the Cowboys based on the way that Tony Pollard was able to run, will make him more effective. I'm not sure. Maybe we've seen the best of Zeke. I'm sure we have, but will we see anything close yet again? Fournette, I feel like he had a down year last year. A guy that could catch some passes out of the backfield. It seemed like Brady checked down to him quite a bit, especially that Super Bowl year, and they called him Playoff Lenny for a reason, so he was effective in the playoffs. But
yep,
I guess I would go reluctantly Zeke as a second guy, not as my premier back. Man, that music ran out. It wasn't as long.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it. Like, I guess you have to view these guys as number twos now, but like I think of Ezekiel Elliott, I think of Fournette, I think of bell cow number one guy.
Yeah.
I think Kareem Hunt now has proven that he can be that change of pace, that guy that you can check it down to a high level pass catching back, and so I feel like he kind of fits a lot of different places.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that Kyle Shanahan usually likes to have a bunch of running backs. Why don't you put like Zeke behind McCaffrey?
Can you imagine saying like 3 years ago, in a couple of years there's going to be Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott will be in the same backfield?
No, that sounds wild. All right, we've talked a ton of running back. Let's move on to a different position as we gear this thing back up. Sorry it wasn't as long of music, but does put us in a football mood. Let's keep it rolling. This is the point when John Gross says, next question. All right. NFL.com every year does their top 100 players in football, and they did a cool little feature here recently this week that I saw on their front page today, that they ranked the number one players of every year, put them all in a pool, and then ranked them. So let me ask you this, Kyle. It's very quarterback heavy. The top four are all quarterbacks. Let me ask you if they got this order right based on your pecking order all time. Tom Brady number one, Peyton Manning number two, Patrick Mahomes number 3, Aaron Rodgers number 4. Is that order, as of right now, correct?
And that's going back how long?
So over the last 10 years, they said it's pretty much the best version of each guy, and they ranked them.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, Manning, Mahomes, Rodgers.
I don't have a ton of complaints with that. I think Brady's the clear number 1 to me. I think you could get into a compelling argument for Mahomes to jump Peyton Manning with some of the things that we've seen there. Now he's got 2 Super Bowls and he's just ridiculous. But again, you got to see him play out a little bit more. And then Rodgers, I mean, who are the other options? Like who fell 5th on that list?
I think,
who is the next quarterback? Just out of curiosity.
Cam Newton was on the board. He was the number 1 player back in 2016. I remember that. Let's see if I pull up here we go. We have, after Rodgers, you have number 5, Aaron Donald. Number 6, J.J. Watt. That was a while ago. Number 7, Adrian Peterson. Number 8, Lamar Jackson. Number 9, Cam Newton.
Yeah, they got it right. I think they got it right. I think that you can make an argument for Mahomes to jump to the 2 spot. Other than that, I think they got it right.
I think it's right as of right now. I think that you can make some movements that wouldn't have me complaining too much. Like Tom Brady, to me, he's the GOAT. He's the most accomplished quarterback of all time, the most clutch quarterback of all time in my estimation. Prior to Patrick Mahomes, I always said that Brady was the best of all time. Rodgers was like the most talented quarterback I had ever seen. Peyton Manning's the smartest quarterback I've ever seen in terms of manipulating defense. Always loved watching the Peyton Manning versus Ray Lewis battles, and I think it's just to kind of get a sense of what it's like defending Peyton Manning. Like, listen to what Ray Lewis says about him and having to prepare. And every time he would like sense an audible from Peyton, he would then change his defense, and Peyton would then navigate back, and like it was quite a chess match. And Patrick Mahomes, after Rodgers, has shown me that he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen.
I was going to say. And
now he has a leg up on Rodgers because he has 2 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is correct on that front. And before we move on, how far, or let's say if you were to guess right now, where do you think Mahomes will end up at the end of his career on this list? Let's say all time, Brady, Manning, Mahomes, Rodgers. He's already ahead of Rodgers based on this list. Will Mahomes be above Manning? Will he be above Brady when it's all said and done?
It's hard for me to believe anyone is going to top Tom Brady. If anyone's going to do it, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's got 2 already. He's in an offense that is just ridiculous with a coach that he's done such great things with, and I think there'll be a match for the next 10 years.
It's really just a question of longevity, right?
It's a question of longevity. I think if Mahomes plays into his 40s or close to it, I think he becomes the greatest quarterback ever. I'm going to say that. I think he wins 2-3 more Super Bowls minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes the argument of, if he starts getting to that 5-6 range and Brady's at 7, and then it's like, well, does that 1 really matter? There's going to be the Brady fans. It's going to be the Jordan LeBron all over again if Mahomes keeps climbing. I think he will. I think the Chiefs with Mahomes are going to win at the very minimum multiple more Super Bowls, and I think that it's tough though. Brady, man, I almost am going back on what I'm saying. I think Mahomes is going to be very minimum number 2 ever when he's done. I think he's trending in that direction, in a spot where he's going to have a ton of success going forward. But then,
I don't think he'll end up tough with as many rings as Brady.
I don't think he's going to reach 7, but I almost don't feel like it's going to end up mattering.
Yeah.
If he gets to 5 or 6.
I think, over the full the trajectory right now, and we give him a full healthy career into late 30s, 40, he's probably number 1, because I would even say at this version of Mahomes for a long period of time is a more talented quarterback than Tom Brady, and probably in the same situation. I think Tom obviously benefited from good defenses, being there in New England with Belichick and everything. Yes, as his career progressed, he became more of a dynamic player at the position. You had the season with Randy Moss. You had Wes Welker, and he started putting up more carry your team type of stats at quarterback, and then went to Tampa and was able to throw for like 50 touchdowns in a season.
Which Mahomes has already done.
Which Mahomes is already doing. So I almost feel like he's ahead of the curve in like carry your team type of stuff. So, but it feels a little premature.
It feels wrong to say, but it also doesn't feel crazy that we could project that. I mean, how old's Mahomes right now? He's 28, 27?
I'd have to look that up. Probably. That sounds right.
I mean, he's got so much left in an organization that I expect, mainly because of him, but also because
he's 27.
I mean, yeah, it's just you project him to play 12, 13 more years minimum, and obviously health has to stand up and everything like that, but it's tough to imagine that he's not going to win 2-3 more Super Bowls minimum. Could reach Brady. I don't think it'll happen. If anyone's going to, it's him.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think just at the end of the day, the eye test, the talent, some of the things he does on the football field, he's as talented a quarterback as ever played. And so I think he's going to be right up there, and it might become one of a Jordan LeBron heated discussion where you got two sides, and I think it might be trending at least in that direction.
I like how you put it there. Is Manning underrated at all at this point? Is he getting a little underrated or no? Is he someone that I think Rodgers, and we got to catch a break after this, Rodgers winning two back-to-back MVPs late in his career helped him, but at the same time it set up huge disappointments in the playoffs that kind of really knocked him from taking that next step in this group, because you went to the postseason. He had the year. They lost at home to Tampa. That was a really good Tampa team. Tom Brady, of course. After that, they hosted a playoff game against the Niners, lost to Jimmy G.
That's right.
I mean, that offense was terrible in that game. I know that the weather was bad, but you can't lose that game if you're MVP and have Devontae Adams and everything. Then last year, I know rookie wide receivers and whatnot, but disappointing season for him. So he's had some of these lack of clutch moments and not getting as far in the postseason. Is it all on his plate? Not necessarily. No, I would say no. Peyton Manning also had some shortcomings in the postseason, not getting to the Super Bowl and then not having as many cracks at it as Tom Brady. Again, I think Brady's situation, especially earlier on for his first couple, helped him a lot more, and there was more on Peyton Manning's plate. But I think that is a separator, and the fact, again, to kind of revisit is Mahomes having two definitely puts him over Rodgers, and I mean he's right there with Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning has two as well. Does he have two or does he have one?
He has two. Yes.
Two. Yep. 4 Super Bowl appearances, went 2-2. Yep.
How much do you think that last Super Bowl that he won with Denver influences in a year that he wasn't all that good to ride off into the sunset with a Super Bowl? How much do you think that changes the view around Peyton Manning's career?
What hurts him is that it felt like he got carried to the finish line.
Exactly.
He wasn't that good that year.
But I feel like it's still, like you said.
Yeah, it helped. It helped.
There's a big difference between 1 ring and 2.
Yes.
And it's a talking point in any debate about legacy. The first thing that you point to is, well, how many championships? Especially in basketball and football where a quarterback or a star player can really carry a team. But I feel like that part gets magnified a little too much with him. I think there's no denying how great of a player he was and what he put. I think my only issue is that when Peyton Manning comes up, I think people put too much weight into that second ring that he just wasn't good that year.
He wasn't.
And can you really stand on that as, hey, Peyton Manning went to Denver and won a second ring? Well, I mean, how much did he really contribute to that? I think a lot of guys would have won in that same situation. So that's my only thing that I'd say on that front. But I think I don't know if he's been underrated. I think he gets the proper amount of recognition when you look at these all-time quarterback lists, because he's usually in there in the top 3-5.
Yeah. I know that on the front end of that Denver stint, and even the Super Bowl they lost, they got their doors
he did
blown
win an
off.
MVP in Denver before the Super Bowl, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they lost to the Seahawks the year before that, and that might have been his MVP year. But, I mean, even his first year back, when they're like, oh, the neck injury, and he leaves Indy, and does he have anything left? Is he going to take a hit and his career be over? I mean, he was phenomenal. Demaryius Thomas and was Emmanuel Sanders on that team too? But
sounds right to me.
He was ridiculously good for a handful of years there in Denver. His last year, his arm was pretty much shot. And on the note of, I know we're going long here, the note of like sailing off in the sunset, we're talking about if you're just tuning in, you're like, why are they only, you got these, Kyle in particular, a younger dude. I'm not as young now. I'm in my early 30s, but why are they only focused on this recency bias of this last 10-year window? Now, I've seen on the text line some mentions of Steve Young, Montana, John Elway. John Elway was able to sail off into the sunset, back-to-back Super Bowl winner before retiring, and that really helped vault him up. A really talented quarterback that didn't have the rings until the end. But we're talking about, based on the NFL.com article, the last 10-year window of these quarterbacks. But I'd put Brady over anybody over the course of time, and I do think that Mahomes has a chance to be that guy when all is said and done. We're going to catch a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about another quarterback, not necessarily, definitely not actually, on that level, but early in his career for my Chicago Bears, Justin Fields had an interesting thing to say earlier this week. He got crushed for it by Colin Cowherd. We'll play that, and then we will react as we talk a little more NFL as we go along. This is The Drive.
Every industry has specialists, like Alan here. He knows radiators.
Radiators. I love them. Don't even talk to me about brakes or fuel lines.
Just radiators.
Radiators.
Sally is a specialist in cakes.
I think pies are an abomination.
Really? Pies?
Yuck.
Then we have Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. You know what they're great at? Appliances. Nothing else. No TVs, no computer printers, no radiators.
Who's got a problem with radiators?
Nobody, Alan, but you can't get one at Dick Van Dyke Appliance World.
Too bad. They're missing out.
I'm Dennis Regan, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. All we do is appliances. And when that's all you do it better than anyone else. Our associates on our sales floors know more about them. Our delivery people are better at installing them. And our technicians are better at fixing them. All right here in Central Illinois. Wow!
I can't believe you don't like pies, though.
What do I look like, some kind of a peasant?
No.
Cakes are really the best thing.
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Illini family, this is Josh Whitman. Illinois football is coming off its best season in more than a decade, which makes this the perfect time for you to join us at Memorial Stadium. Single game tickets are now on sale with special preseason prices. From now until August 7th, tickets will be the lowest you'll see all season long, and that is our family first promise. Don't miss out on big games like Penn State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. Get your tickets at fightingillini.com before August 7th. ILL.
Join the Champaign Parks Foundation for a fun evening of food, socializing, and entertainment at the iHotel and Conference Center with Champaign Park District's Youth Scholarship Fund to benefit from the new Ties and Tennies Gala. It's coming up on Thursday, September 14th, and you'll enjoy dueling pianos, a plated dinner, complimentary wine and beer, live and silent auction, and featured speaker Team USA Paralympian sitting volleyball player Nicole Millage. Learn more details. Visit champaignparks.org. Carl works every day to improve the health of community members across the region, and it would not be possible without team members like Sierra Poole, phlebotomy lab lead at Carl Foundation Hospital.
I love working at Carl because of the togetherness among the phlebotomy team and the opportunity to advance within the department.
If you're looking for an opportunity to serve your community like Sierra in a supportive environment with opportunities for growth, visit carl.org/careers.
Hi, I'm Tyler Weaver, president of Carpet Weavers Flooring and Furniture Gallery. It's time to come home to Carpet Weavers. We don't want you to just like your new floors. We want you to love them. From waterproof floors and carpet to furnitures and design advice, we've got a team of experts on your side. We'll get you the best price and the best quality products and complete your home with furniture and accessories. Buy it all with free financing, too. Come home to Carpet Weavers, where floors, furniture, and family meet.
I've got to clean out this garage. Let's see. What's the cheapest and easiest dumpster service in our area?
Here's what I found. The doggy bag.
Think she's broken. I'm not looking for takeout. Siri, try again.
The doggy bag from Bulldog Disposal in Mahomet.
Doggy bag? What's that?
If you got junk that needs to go, but you don't want the hassle of having an enormous dumpster delivered, grab a doggy bag, keep it as long as you need. They'll come take it away. For more information, just visit bulldoggybag.com.
That's bulldoggybag.com.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he had a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola. It's Emily Atkins. She owns something called Happy Healing. Tell me about what you have planned coming up.
September 9th, we have our spiritual spa day. So we have 3 wellness practitioners coming. We have Brenda, who does sound bowl healings with crystal bowls. We have Drea, who does facials. And we have Emily, who does massages. So we'll be selling tickets, and so you'll have a half hour of each, and then I'll be there and we can make candles too.
So it's going to be just a very relaxing, wonderful time together.
Absolutely, absolutely. We only have 12 tickets available.
And it's what, $400-$500?
No, it's only $200.
For all of that?
Exactly.
So you're talking facial, massage, the crystal bowls?
Yes.
Which are going to relax and maybe put them to sleep.
Exactly.
And then they might make candles.
Exactly. And you'll walk out feeling like the best version of yourself. You can go to the website, happyhealing.us, or my Instagram, happyhealing_center.
Have you been to the Long Branch Steakhouse? The Long Branch Steakhouse happens to be a family-owned restaurant in the small town of Gifford that just happens to serve up incredible steaks. We're talking fresh, hand-cut steaks served to perfection. So if your fantasy is to have a great meal in a great family restaurant in a great small community, visit the Long Branch Steakhouse. Oh, and don't forget to ask for the frog dressing, the Brussels sprouts, and the incredible macaroni and cheese. The Long Branch Steakhouse, located in beautiful downtown Gifford.
Does your home have those annoying outdoor spigots that leak and have no pressure? Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing can help. Install a new Woodford outdoor spigot so your gardens and flowers don't suffer in this summer heat. Make sure your home's outdoors look great and call Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing at 217-841-4728. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
Hey, Illini fans, it's Mike Greenberg. Catch Lon Tay and Derek Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
Back on the drive at Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. Appreciate all of those that have weighed in on the U of I Atlanta Link text line. Let's get to a few of those before we get on to the next question. Next question. You can call me. Sal says Manning over Rodgers all day. Randy says Mahomes gets hurt every year. Can't see him playing until he's 40. We had another.
He gets hurt, but he plays through it every time. He is as tough a guy as there is in the league. Now, I know a lot of guys have been that way, but I don't know if I agree with that.
Philip says Burrow is going to be better than Mahomes.
No. Burrow's outstanding.
I love Burrow. I do. But I would not put him.
He's just not.
In being better than Patty Mahomes, even though I do think that Burrow's getting slept on a little bit still. I think that I'd put Burrow over Josh Allen.
I would too.
Mr. Madden cover this year. I think Joey B deserved that if you were making the argument one versus the other.
It is going to Burrow versus Mahomes in the AFC for the next 10 years is going to be great.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's going to be you've already seen that play out already, and those two guys are still earlier in their careers. I mean, that's going to be the next Brady Manning. I mean, it's already been to that level in the matchups they've had. So it's going to be really fun to see those two go at it. But the thing with Burrow for me is he's got to climb the Mahomes mountain, and I don't know how. I think he's going to do it less often than he is, or more often than not. An easier way to say it is more often than not, I think Mahomes is going to get the better of him, and that's going to really prevent him from doing anything. So
they're 1-1 against each other AFC title games, right?
Yep.
You had Burrow advance to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year, Mahomes was able to do it and get KC to the Super Bowl and, of course, win it. Throw in Justin Herbert, throw in Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson's still a factor. The AFC has some dudes, man.
The AFC's loaded. We talked about that when we were previewing. The AFC is loaded.
Yep.
And it's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully my Dolphins can make some noise.
217 current quarterback power rankings. Mahomes, number 1. Mahomes on one leg, number 2. Joe Burrow, number 3. Allen or Herbert, take your pick, number 4. That's pretty well put. Allen or Herbert for you?
Allen still got it.
Yeah.
Herbert hasn't proven it yet. He's really talented.
Yes.
Needs to win.
Yep. I'm 100% with you. Although I'm very, very high on Justin Herbert's upside, but I would give it to Josh Allen. All right, let's get back into it. On the quarterback note, Justin Fields says he's one of the top 5 running quarterbacks of all time. I did not pull up the clip if there was a clip to be had. I don't know who else he put in the conversation. I was listening to someone else talk about it. In fact, I'll tell you who it was, Colin Cowherd, and he mentioned Cam Newton, Steve Young. I don't know if he put Lamar Jackson in there, so maybe those are guys that Justin Fields ended up listing off. But let's play Colin Cowherd's reaction. He didn't love the thought from Justin Fields. Thought it was a little too.
Here, I got
the actual quote.
List.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, "I'm definitely in the top 5." Or he was asked the question about his top 5 running quarterbacks of all time. He said, "I definitely think I'm in the top 5." And then in no order, his top 5 was Mike Vick, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, Steve Young himself.
I don't hate the list. No, I get it. Like, he is not among that group in particular. I mean, Steve Young's a Super Bowl winner. Lamar Jackson's an MVP. Cam Newton's won an MVP. He's going into his 3rd year. I think the context, and we can talk more about this after I play the Colin Cowherd clip. The context is a lot of athletes, they're put themselves in the conversations of, like, they're supposed to be confident in their abilities. So sometimes you can take their words, and yeah, it sounds crazy, but why wouldn't he view himself as a really, really good? I mean, he's a dynamic rusher, and the stats actually back up. He had one of the best rushing seasons of anybody all time at quarterback. So I understand where he's coming from. If you're talking full package of a running quarterback, he has a lot more to prove. But Colin Cowherd didn't like his boldness in coming out and saying it before year 3, hey, I'm one of the best of all time as far as that category. Here is a snippet of what Colin Cowherd said earlier this week.
I know Chicago will go crazy, but right now Justin Fields is a bust. He's 5-20, 10-game losing streak, passer rating in the 70s. I mean, you let me ask you right now, last year, was he not easily the worst quarterback in the division? It's not Aaron, wasn't Goff, wasn't Kirk Cousins. He was the 4th best quarterback last time this division played. Am I wrong? Now, he may be better than Jordan Love, but right now he doesn't have Goff. Goff's been to a Super Bowl. He's not Kirk Cousins. Right now he's a YouTube quarterback. His highlights are great. 79 passer rating, 5-20. Not saying I'm bailing. Still think it's 55-45 he's going to succeed.
There you have it.
Colin Cowherd doesn't disappoint on some of his videos, man.
Look, he's as good as it gets in delivery and having a take. It's not a sports media business
no
to have
way he
lukewarm
believes some
takes.
of this stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't think.
Come on.
And he's come out strong against a number of players. Like he references in that video, if you want to go and watch it on YouTube, he said some of the same stuff in terms of like overconfidence and cockiness about Baker Mayfield, mentioned Johnny Manziel. Like the fact that he's putting Justin Fields in the same conversation as Johnny Manziel is kind of laughable in my estimation. But the idea of him being a bust so far, to me, is comical. Like that doesn't even make any bit of sense to me. Yeah, you could slap the record on his name. Like, I mean, quarterbacks have to wear the record of their teams, 5-20 as a starter. But look at who he had to work with last year. Number one, on his own side of the ball, widely thought of to have one of the worst offensive lines in football. Took the most sacks in the league. I think it was an astronomical number of was it 55? Yeah, 55 sacks last year. Again, also on that note, widely thought to have one of the worst receiving cores in the NFL. Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet, the best pass catchers in that offense. He made the Bears' offense tick last year. They were competitive in games. They put up decent numbers in terms of scoring, especially the second half of the season. And if you're just talking running, he ran for 1,100 yards last year on the ground. That's the second most in a single season of anybody in the history of the NFL. So in saying, talking about top 5 running quarterbacks, no, he's not as accomplished as the other guys he put on that list. But in terms of being dynamic as a runner, like Lamar Jackson is the only guy who's rushed for more yards in the season than Justin Fields. And when you compare some of his numbers to other like quarterbacks, the Bears pretty much had Michael Vick last year. When you looked at Michael Vick's second season, which last year was Justin Fields' second season, Mike Vick second year, 55% completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, quarterback rating 81.6, ran for, 800 some yards, I believe. 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was 4th in the MVP voting. You go to Justin Fields last year, actually beat Mike Vick in terms of completion percentage. Yes, Vick threw for a handful of more yards. The touchdown to interception ratio went to Vick by a little bit because Fields had double-digit picks, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but more rushing yards and I think just as many, if not more, just as many touchdowns, 8 touchdowns on the ground. The Bears had second-year Michael Vick at quarterback last year. I'd take that all day. Mm-hmm. But I get it. There is, and the line about he's a YouTube quarterback, okay, whatever. And you could even say, I think some people out there would say, Michael Vick was a YouTube quarterback for a lot of his career, didn't do a lot of winning, particularly in the postseason. Yes, early in his career, went to Lambeau, beat Brett Favre, and that snapped a long postseason win streak for the Packers at home. And then he had a post, getting out of jail and going to Philly, and that was a really, really good team. Got beat by Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs to end what was a spectacular season resurgence for Michael Vick. But I think in comparison to Mike Vick, he fares pretty well. I think in comparison to Jalen Hurts pre-A.J. Brown, you got a lot of similar statistics on that as well. And Jalen Hurts' second year, very similar statistically on paper as Justin Fields last year. Can he take that year 3 step that Hurts took? He got A.J. Bears brought in DJ Moore. We'll see if that happens, but I think it's preposterous to suggest that Fields is a bust, and I don't have a huge issue with him putting himself in that list. Yes, I'm a little biased. I'm a Bears fan. Do I necessarily, if you want to talk about the full spectrum of accomplishments through that list, he doesn't deserve to be on it. But in terms of pure running ability, I think he does.
The coward thing is just insane. It doesn't even make sense to me. You can't. The bust label is when you were drafted high and you don't pan out.
Zach Wilson's
career
a bust.
Doesn't pan out. You don't label somebody a bust after they improve from year 1 to year 2 in a terrible. That's not even the meaning of the term. The term is being used incorrectly. You can't be a bust right now. You have to be a bust because your career didn't pan out. You have to. There's the bust label, to me at least. It's not an ever-changing thing. You either are a bust or you're not a bust. Justin Fields is not a bust. He's in heading into year 3, coming off of 2 years in an awful situation for a young quarterback to be in, and still, like you said, making the most of it in terms of breaking rushing records and making the Bears offense at least semi-watchable last year.
Yeah.
And showed marked improvement from year 1 to year 2 as a passer and just as an overall playmaker in that offense. And now he's going into year 3 with a DJ Moore and with more help and with a better offensive line around him. It's just insane to me that a guy with that platform can use that term for a guy like Justin Fields. It's ridiculous to me. And yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him this year. When you talk about the offense the Bears have put around him now, the fact you get him a DJ Moore, Chase Claypool's in the offense for a second straight year, and you draft a tackle, you sign they signed a offensive lineman as well, I believe.
I think it was Nate Davis
from the
a
Bills.
guard, yeah.
And so now you've given him some help, and now's the big year now for him to really prove himself. But we can't say he's not going to do that. We haven't seen it happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's undeniable how talented he is running the football. He's as dynamic of a rusher, really one of the more dynamic rushers ever. So to me, that I don't see a huge problem with his quote either, because I think of sheer rushing ability and sheer ability with the ball in his hands from the quarterback position in the open field, I think he's as good at it as there has been, other than maybe a Lamar Jackson, maybe a Michael Vick, maybe a Steve Young. I think he's listed with a couple more years of the production that he had last year. Maybe he never reaches that number because he actually has more help.
Mm-hmm.
But of similar caliber seasons rushing the football, I think there'll be no problem putting him in a group with like a Lamar Jackson or a Cam Newton or whoever it may be, because it's not like those guys had 14 years of it or anything like that. I mean, they had shorter. They've had shorter amounts of time doing it, but yeah, I can't get behind calling a guy that's been in the league for 2 years in an awful situation a bust. I mean, that's
crazy.
not even the meaning of the term to me.
Because I was trying to find comparisons, and if you want to put him in terms of like how Cam Newton was viewed early on in his career, Cam started off really well and very early in his career was able to become one of the best offensive weapons in football. But his rookie season, he went into a situation where he had Steve Smith and then a two-headed monster at running back, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. Like, it's completely different to compare what Justin Fields had last year. And look, the Bears were trying to lose. They dismantled their defense. They traded Khalil Mack. They traded Robert Quinn. They traded Roquan Smith. They tried to lose. They gave up a bunch of points. I remember that game against the Dolphins. That was one of the games of the season for Fields. Fields ran nuts in that game. The Bears lost 35-32 against one of the best offenses in football because of Justin Fields. So it really worked out awesome for the Bears that they lost games. They got the top pick. They were able to turn that into more help around Fields, and Fields took steps forward last year. So I think it worked perfectly. Yes, when you dig in, I'm still a little, like, it's a little jarring to look at, like, the passing yards per game. Like, he threw for 170 yards per game last year. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, based on what I was looking up before the show, there's only one game all last year where he eclipsed 200 yards passing. Like, it's a little jarring. Yes, context of, like, the weapons that he had to throw to. But even if I gave Colin Cowherd his earlier quote in the segment where he even says, I think he's closer to a bust than a star, I would even disagree with that. I think he's closer to being a star at quarterback than a bust. But to say he's a bust already is crazy. So
yeah, I'm interested to see this year. Obviously, you're the Bears fan and you're excited about what he can be this year. I'm interested as a neutral person just to see what he looks like this year with more opportunities. Like you bring up those numbers, a guy that only eclipsed 200 passing yards. Well, what do you want him to do when four guys are coming at him? He's running for his life. Would you rather have him set and fire into traffic, or would you rather have him make a play with his feet and use his dynamic playmaking ability to make something out of that play and pick up 10 yards on the ground? Or would you rather have him throw it into traffic and show that he can throw? Or, it's just the Bears were terrible offense last year. They had no talent around them last year. Now you have some of it. You have an improved offense. You have improved pieces around him. You have a guy that's a fringe wide receiver one, maybe can be a bona fide wide receiver one in DJ Moore, now is the time to judge. And if he looks the same as a passer as he did last year, then we can start to have those discussions. Yeah. But it's ridiculous after 2 years in what the Chicago Bears offense has been, year one of which was Matt Nagy.
I know, he was horrible. I think back to the Browns game, his first start, they got him killed. They were running
to make any statement like that.
5 and 7 step drops with no added protection when you had one of the worst offensive lines.
I remember watching that game against the Browns where it's just like, Justin Fields back for his first pass attempt. Oh, and he goes down.
Myles Garrett had like 4.5 or 5 sacks in one game. The fact that the Bears haven't gotten him killed is like, I'm good with that, period. Let alone the fact that he ran for the second most yards.
He's part of the reason for it because he refuses to go down.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that, maybe he won't rush for 1,100 yards, but his ability to make something out of nothing and to keep plays alive and to turn dead plays into positive gains, I mean, that's something that really there's not a lot of guys other than the list that he gave that have had the ability to do that like he has.
Randy says on the U of I Line Link text line, after a 5-win season, the Bears will be drafting a quarterback next year. I disagree.
He and Colin Cowherd would have some things to agree upon, I guess.
I disagree. All right, we're due for one more break. We'll wrap up the show when we return. This is The Drive.
Want unbeatable prices on your next furniture purchase, but also seeking that local hometown feel? Look no further than Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola. Customers rave about their friendly, established staff, as well as their great selection, amazing prices, and second-to-none delivery service. They're a third-generation local business, and they've always got your best interests at heart. Find the look you love for less. Open 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday, but always available online at kelseyfurniture.com. That's kelseyfurniture.com.
Illini fans, take the opportunity to head down to Game Day Spirit's Green Street location this summer. Shop their awesome selection of Fighting Illini merchandise. While you're there, shop some of their awesome buy one, get one free t-shirt designs, as well as their Nike section and so much more. With new styles coming in daily, there's sure to be something for every Illini fan. Shop at the corner of Neal and Kirby in Champaign, 6th and Green in Campustown, and online 24/7 at GameDaySpirit.com. Game Day Spirit, where Illini fans shop.
Urbana's Market at the Square has been cultivating a vibrant scene in CU since 1979. Get to know your farmers bringing locally harvested honey, crafts, jewelry, art, fresh cut flowers, plus produce including fresh leafy greens and root vegetables, fresh baked treats, and a wide selection of proteins. Going on now, every Saturday, 7 a.m. till noon, rain or shine at Illinois and Vine, it's Urbana Market at the Square. Find Urbana Market on Facebook or urbanamarket.org.
Let Max Twin City Recycling pay you for your junk metal items. As the weather begins to heat up, now is a great time to put cash in your pocket for the steel, copper, brass, and aluminum items you've been meaning to get rid of. We've recently added a large concrete pad to make unloading quicker and cleaner for our customers. Visit us on North Lincoln Avenue, just north of I-74, or at maxrecycling.com.
Starting it over is what we do at Max Twin City Recycling.
If you're looking for a pre-owned car, truck, or van, look no further than Sarah Champagne. You know them for their 5 incredible vehicle brands, the BMW, Honda, Subaru, Buick, and GMC. But did you know they also have over 100 used cars, trucks, and vans in stock right now? And at Sarah Champagne, they will take care of you. You can trust them. And prices begin at under $2,000. Stop by Sarah Champagne. They're at Burwash and Savoy, or go online, sarahchampagne.com. That's Sarah, S-E-R-R-A, Champagne.com.
Racing, racing, racing! Farmer City Raceway is your local award-winning dirt track with exciting Friday night lights illuminating the late models and modifieds going for the checkered flag for the win. Make arrangements to get in on the camping with great price points for pit passes and young fans, as well as veterans. Friday nights, the hot laps start at 6:30, then qualifying and racing action. Don't miss out on the fun at Farmer City Raceway. For details, visit farmercityracing.com. You'll buy the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
You spend half of your life indoors. That's half of your life underneath your roof. Who do you trust to keep you safe and dry underneath it? The name to remember is Roof Doctors. Roof Doctors understands the harsh weather conditions that your roof endures because they're a family and locally owned business. From your community, for your community, the doctors who make the house calls, Roof Doctors, at roofdoctors.com or phone 328-7529. Rest easy under a roof that's been treated by Roof Doctors.
At Busey Bank, we're proud to serve our local community through financial guidance and community investment. Offering sound advice and actionable insight, Busey builds financial strength, supports homeownership dreams, and offers customized lending strategies, connecting with our neighbors to build stronger communities. Busey Bank, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini.
Hey, Illini fans, it's Mike Greenberg. Catch Lon Tay and Derek Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
All right, we're out of here. Cardinals baseball coming up. Cardinals and Cubs. 7:05 first pitch. Marcus Stroman against Steven Matz. Oh, boy. You'll hear it here. Cardinals broadcast, ESPN 93.5, as well as if you want to hear the Cubs, you got 105.9 as an option, our sister station as well. Cards Cubs will do battle at Wrigley tomorrow afternoon. We will not be on, so we'll wish you a great weekend.